and thank you for tuning in for yet another weekly wrap-up. Something I want to state before I start this weekly wrap-up. I know that for like a year's time, I did the Let's Get Graphics where I shared with you guys the trades and graphic novels I was going to read for that week. I think that by continuing to do those and doing weekly wrap-ups seems a bit redundant. And if you know how I do my videos, if you've been subscribed to me for quite a while now, you know that I'm always seeking to grow and have my channel mature. So I think it's time to put to rest the Let's Get Graphics series that I did, because in all honesty, they're not as good a quality as I want for my channel. I do want to grow, and I want my channel to be more mature than it has been. I have been doing this for a few years now, and I would really like to see, I expect more out of my channel than what it was. And let's face it, those Let's Get Graphics were just library book hauls. So yeah, I want a little bit more. I want to put out more for you guys, like more quality stuff. Well, anyways, let's get on with this weekly wrap-up. First book is Rat Queens. This is an Image book. I came across this in an unlikely source. I'm not subscribed to this booktuber, but it was one of those sidebar things, and it's a big booktuber who usually doesn't read graphic novels, comics, or trades, so I thought it was kind of interesting that they would select this one. And at first I thought it was going to be a really crappy read because it was a big booktuber who doesn't read comics. Let's face it. When you get somebody who's doing something because it's trending, usually you're thinking it's going to be crap. But anyways, I picked this up, and I started reading it thinking it was going to be crap, but I was relatively surprised. Like, the first few pages really intrigued me. And I have to say, like, with ads like this that introduce the characters with Betty, I love because it just shows they like to party. The mushrooms and vodka. And then this one with Hannah, I'll conjure you a little fuck you. I love the spunkiness behind these characters is what really made this book good for me. If you're into fantasy, and if you are one of those people who likes to watch Kevin Smith films because of the raunchy commentary, then I would definitely recommend Rat Queens. The artwork is phenomenal. It's really good. It's funny, it's comedic, and it's entertaining, and it's full of action and adventure. The Rat Queens are these different races of women. One's a dwarf, one's a smidgen, which I've never heard of a smidgen before. One's a humanoid, like some kind of Cthulhu-like priest. And one's an elf, one's a dwarf. So it's a mixed bag of characters, and like I said, the artwork is phenomenal. I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. This is one of the best graphic novel series or trades that I have read in a very long time. I am so excited about this book, and I cannot wait for more volumes of this to come out. I think this is even better than Saga. For those of you who are reading Saga right now, this is a much better story. Next up we have Swamp Thing, Volume 1 of the New 52, Raise Them Bones. I have to first start off by saying that I really appreciate the fact that this is the first New 52 book that I have read that did not throw out the old lore of the events that happened prior to the New 52. I really appreciate the fact that the main character, who is the Swamp Thing, remembers that at one time he was the Swamp Thing, but they're like vague memories, so they're not throwing out the old lore. I really appreciate that. One of the cool things I thought about this book was the art, and if you're an art person and you know about different types of art, I like the fact that it uses elements of the Art Nouveau with the designs for like covers and some of the layouts, the splash pages, inside and surrealism with the enemy, which is called the Rot. Now, this is a story that, if you guys remember me reading Animal Man, Volume 1 of the New 52, it's a tie-in to that storyline that has to do with the living world versus the dead world, which is the Rot. And, of course, the Swamp Thing represents the part of the living world, the green, and Animal Man represents the red, which is the living too. And this girl, she's the queen of the Rot, and she was Swamp Thing's lover. I guess her name was Amanda Arcane. I'm not 100% sure on her name, but this was a very enjoyable story. I loved every aspect of it. It seemed pretty flawless, and I do have to say that I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars. I wish that the other New 52s had done the same tact with not giving up the old lore and, you know, recreating totally from scratch. I really appreciated the fact that this book said, hey, we recognize that Swamp Thing used to be a thing, and we're sticking to, you know, that was part of his history. So I really appreciated that. After that, I picked up Haunt. This is a Robert Kirkman and Todd McFarlane work they did together. As you can see, and this is going to be one of the reasons why I gave this book the rating I did, the character you can tell is heavily McFarlane influenced. If you're not familiar with who Todd McFarlane is, he was the guy who worked on Spider-Man. He had a very distinctive art style. He was the one that made Venom what we think of as Venom today. And he created Spawn as well. So, yeah. Very unoriginal storyline. It's like about this guy who works for the secret government agency, and they're trying to work on the secret formula that this other bad guys want to steal. And of course, he dies in action, and his brother, who happens to be a Catholic priest who sleeps with prostitutes on a weekly basis. Yeah, it was just kind of weird and not very original, especially with the main hero who happens to be called Haunt. Well, anyways, Haunt is his brother's dead ghost, bonds with him, and they create this Spider-Man type, Venom type, Spawn character that's just so unoriginal. The story was okay. The art was good and decent. I will give it that much. I was almost thinking about rating this 3 out of 5 stars, but because of the unoriginality, I went with 2 out of 5 stars. It's okay. I mean, I wouldn't say don't read this, but don't set your expectations too high. Next up we have 300 by Frank Miller and Lynn Varley. Lynn Varley is the one who did the artwork. Frank Miller, of course, is the one who wrote it. This book is immense, and I have always wanted to read this, since before it was turned into a film. But it is so big. I don't understand why it's so large, but if you kind of look inside, I mean, it's got a lot of, really, it's good artwork, I will say that, and I wonder if that's why they went with the oversized book. There's some of the inside. I guess this is based on historical events, and they kind of give you some more information, stuff you can read to further understand this battle, but I thought it was kind of interesting, and it was one, I know I had seen the film prior to reading this book, and by the way, this is a Dark Horse published graphic novel. I have to say I rather enjoyed it, although it was kind of hindering, reading this big, oversized book. It was not something you can just read casually, in public. It was rather awkward trying to read this. But yeah, I rated this one 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Check it out. Definitely. Especially if you like the film, check this out. Okay, next up is Injustice: Gods Amongst Us. This is part 1. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I have already read part 2. I thought part 2 was great. I I absolutely loved it. The action and everything about Superman going crazy and trying to, what he quote unquote fix the world. This kind of, actually, I think that kind of helped me put part one into better perspective. It is, yes, it is based on the video game Injustice, and that is the game that was created by the makers of Mortal Kombat. It's not traditional DC lore, but this kind of gives you some more background about what exactly made Superman go over the edge. I'm not going to reveal too much because I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't read this. But yeah, I didn't think that the first part was as good as the second part. I only rated this 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. But like I said, the second part was great. I really, really loved the second part. After that, I read Fatale. This is book 2. Unfortunately, book 1 was just not available, so I had to read starting from book 1. Well, anyways, book 2, this book starts out really slow, I will admit, and it's kind of a noir, like, fantasy, supernatural type book. Let's just say it's kind of a noir because it's got dames. It's got dames, you see. It's got this Cthulhu-like cult that is sacrificing people, and it was just intriguing, and it's kind of got like kind of Manson type, killers. So, and it involves Hollywood runaways trying to be stars, snuff films, all that stuff. So it kind of really, it started to intrigue me the further I got into this book. And the artwork is good, and Ed Brubaker, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, is the one who wrote this, and that's how I came across this. I think that this was originally something that was recommended to me by Goodreads. But the end-all, be-all, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't like it at first, but it kind of quickly grew on me as I got further into the story. Like I said, if you're into noir and if you're into supernatural fiction, the whole like Cthulhu-like cult was kind of cool. I really appreciated that. And it's really very Pulp Fiction-y. And by that I don't mean the Pulp Fiction the movie, but it's really Pulp Fiction-y, like those classic Pulp Fiction novels. It's written in such a way that it's just like those books. And if you're into that kind of fiction, then this is a book you should definitely check out. So that is my weekly wrap up. So I hope you guys, if you love comics as much as I do, I hope that maybe you found a new book that you want to read. Or if you've read any of these books, let me know down below what you thought of them. And I'm always up for recommendations. So if there's anything you think I should be reading based on what you've seen me read already, let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, later guys.